Right, we are going to use this pair of GHD SS5s as today's featured repair, and the SS5 is the wider plate current version, and we're just going to run through the checks. The customer claims the irons keep beeping and they don't heat up, but we've got a few issues to address immediately. As you can see, if I pull this, you can see that cover is lifting up. Now there are two screws here, and they screw into plastic pillars that are attached, moulded to the arm. Over the years, when these get banged around, there's a lot of mass in this ceramic plate, so if you bang it down, all that mass transfers into this plastic, and coupled with the heat these produce, it will eventually break these plastic columns off, and that leaves you with this broken cover effect. And it's the same possibly the other side. I think that side is broken, the other side is still attached. We'll deal with that in a minute. So as soon as we get a pair in, we're going to inspect them, and as you can see, these are quite worn. There's quite a bit of dirt. We've got some scratching on the ceramic plates, quite bad on that side. Covers are hanging off, hinge caps are present but a little bit worn, end ring is present, that's this gold ring, a little bit of wear. We're going to check the cable. I'm running my fingers over it carefully, checking for any damage. Nothing obvious. This is the original cable. It's got a moulded plug, and that is, now I can't quite see that fuse. It needs to be a 3 or 5, never a 13. It's a 3 in this case, which is perfect. So that is all good to go. We will carefully pop these hinge caps off, just using a thin flat blade. The little tabs on these hinge caps often break. If that happens, we super glue the cap back into place. That side is also okay. Oh, excuse me. So that's the screw and washer, and we'll just push that hinge pin out, separate the arms, and we're going to undo the single screw from this end and gently try and remove this screw. Oh, that is so close to breaking that plastic. This side I'm pretty certain is broken, yeah, and there you go, you can see the pillar has broken off. So we're going to sort out the fault first. I think I already know what it is, but let's work through our normal fault finding process for you. I'm going to check the thermal fuse first, and that is fine. Should have a very, very low ohms reading there, and I'm checking the ceramic plates now, and I'm getting a 35 ohm reading, which is exactly right. It's half of the 70 ohms that each element is. Just checking the switch, just looking at all the other wiring, all looks good. Now we're going to make sure that that is lined up in the correct place. You can see it's snapped at an angle, so obviously if that spins round, it's going to force the cover off even more. So we're just going to hold that, just nip the screw up so it's tight. You've got to be real careful doing that. If you don't grip this really tightly, in fact you should probably use pliers to hold this and then do the bolt up. If you hold it lightly and turn it, that is so sharp you'll just cut straight through your fingers, and I've done that on a number of occasions. You'll also notice a little chip of plastic out of that side, just where my finger is there. Again, common problem. You can see it starting to go on the other side. You might be able to see that tiny little split in the plastic. Again, very common, nothing you can do about it really. Now what we're going to do is to try and bond this. We're going to use a very high temperature silicone onto the end of the pillar. This is the same very expensive RTV that we use to bond thermistors to the elements. So we're going to feed that through there and plop that down on there. This hopefully will set over the coming hours, and by the time they get back to the customer, either overnight or the following day, that will have set, and hopefully will help secure that. You can see it's nice and flat. The other side is going to be more of an issue. Now the fault is on this side, and I suspect one of the two resistors has failed. There are the two broken plastic pieces. In fact, there's a few bits of broken plastic in the irons as well. There are two resistors, I don't know whether you can see it, R8, R11, just on here, and I suspect either one of those has failed, or we have a thermistor fault, or we have a PIC processor fault. But something is causing these to bleep, and it's generally one of those. In this case, it looks like that resistor is open circuit, and the other one's fine. Now, we change both resistors for reliability's sake. I see a lot of other repairers just changing one resistor because it's faulty, and they leave the other one in place, the other original one in place. And that is not acceptable, and all that will happen is the customer will pay for this repair. It will be half done, but they'll be working, and then in a few weeks, months, or next year, the other resistor will fail. Excuse me. And the poor customer will be posting them back to the same repairer for another full price repair, or indeed sending them to another repairer like me, who replaces both resistors again anyway, so I can't trust the resistor another repairer has used. So that is all good. That is the cause of the customer's bleeping. Now, what are we going to do here? These are tight, that's good. Just going to check they're in the right place, and they are, so we don't have to adjust those. At this point, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to just apply a little bit of this high temperature RTV. This is Electrolube T-Core 75S, and at 35 quid for a small tube. This is not something we would expect the home repairer to have available. It's also got a limited shelf life, so yeah, but do not use something like Aral dye or epoxy or super glue, because it just won't work. It's so hot here, you really do need something like this. So yeah, we are done, happy everything is repaired. We are going to put that single screw in, and what we'll do is, when these go back in a minute, and I'm packing them, I'm going to wedge a piece of card between the two arms and hold the arms together, and that way when they get back home they just need to unwrap them, and hopefully this will help a lot. And that silicone will have gone off after a few hours, and certainly overnight. But at this stage we're just going to check that these are okay. We're also going to double check that that mains cable is okay. Any sparking, whether it's the cable, the socket or the main switch, can cause those resistors to fail. They can also fail on their own for no reason, but we will be tugging this cable around at the socket end and also at the plug end to make sure there's no internal breaks that we can't see. So we'll fire these up. That's good. You'll see the red light come on and the bleep. This light will pulse on and off until they reach operating temperature, which is around 186. At this stage I'm going to hold them there and rotate and pull this cable, no problems, and the other end with the plug, no problems. So whilst these heat up, I'm just going to apply the hinge caps. As I say, if these are broken we would super glue them back in place. Just a couple of dabs of super glue either side of the broken tab if you've got it, and press them on and hold for a few seconds, and that will be done. Do not cover it in super glue, because you will never get them off again if they need a future repair. So at temperature the light is lit. I don't know whether you can see that under the workshop conditions, and just going to double check that temperature. It's 186, which is perfect, absolutely spot on. And then we're going to do a pat test, leaving the switch in the on position. The plug is now in the pat tester. We're doing a class 2 pat test, and that is a pass, so we are done. These will now get wrapped up with the arm padded and held shut, so that is going to bond in the correct position. And that is a very straightforward repair on the SS5. There's obviously many more things that can go wrong on these, from thermal fuse failures to element failures, cable failures. We'll cover those in other featured videos as the weeks go by, but we're going to try and cover each model that we see one at a time first of all.